that's when I can set aside what other people think, because everyone has an opinion. I have an opinion. You have an opinion. Everybody's got their opinions. But our job, I believe, as leaders is to focus on ourselves and be like, how do I maximize the gifts and talents that I've been born with?
Welcome to the Matt Phillips podcast. I am Matt Phillips, your sales leadership coach, mental toughness expert, and founder of Matt Phillips Coaching.
Well, welcome back to the podcast. It is Matt. I am so excited to be back home recording this podcast. We actually just got back late last night from our youngest daughter's volleyball tournament in Philadelphia and had an amazing trip. Flew out Thursday, back late Sunday night, and to watch the girls just compete, right? And they're 12 years old, and just to, be able to go up against these teams from around the country. I mean, played a team from North Carolina, from New York, and being from Colorado. It's such a cool experience to be able to do that. So it was fun getting to watch my daughter compete against these other teams and be with the other parents and the coaches and just have some time away from the normal day-to-day stuff. And it was really fun for me. Just, again, I'm about, as you're going to hear today, I'm always about watching body language, watching how players react, right? So it's not only true of my daughter, but it's true of all the other athletes that are there. And I just love watching and just seeing how people approach the game and make adjustments mid-game. And that's coaches and players, by the way. So it's super fun just in this massive convention center, watching all these teams from around the country play. So needless to say, getting up this morning, we were a little tired right after some long travel, but super energized to be here with you today and to jump into this topic around what I call the middle mindset. And again, being at that volleyball tournament, this is something I was looking for. It's something that I try to talk to my kids about, that all the players that we work with, and it's something that I talk about with business people, with leaders all the time as well. And it's so critical. This topic, the last couple of weeks, has really been at the forefront of my mind. And that's what I want to spend some time talking to you about today. So first of all, what do I mean when I'm talking about the middle mindset, right? So if you think about it, when we go through our day, we experience all of these highs and we can experience all of these lows. And when you look at the greatest athletes of our time, right, of the past, they stayed somewhere in the middle, right? And you hear these quotes, you read these quotes, I should say, where they hear, I never let myself get too high or I never get myself too low, when I stay right in the middle. And that's exactly what I'm talking about with this middle mindset. And we see the same thing in business. We see the same thing when leading people, is sometimes we let the highs get really, really high, or we get the lows. They really impact us at a deep level. When at the end of the day, if we choose to kind of stay in the middle, I'm not, if something goes well and we want to go high and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, so excited, so excited. Yes, we should go there. We should celebrate those things. At the same time, though, what I'm going to walk you through today, it's understanding when to pull ourselves back down to that middle mindset, that middle ground, so that we can leverage what just happened, that good thing. The same thing's true of when we're low, right? When we get sad, when something doesn't go our way, or we're dealing with the same issue over and over again. It's understanding that in that moment, we can pull ourselves back up to that middle place, right? It's not this, do a dance and sing a song and everything's going to be great. Let's go really high to try to cover up what we're going through. No. It's in that moment of low, pull ourselves up to the middle so we can learn, adjust, and take the step forward, right? This topic today is about personal and professional growth. It's every area of our life. It's relationships, it's working out, it's what you're eating, it's business, it's leadership, it's everything that we touch can be impacted by staying in the middle, staying in this neutrality, in this middle mindset, as we call it. So I'll tell you two kind of ways that for me this has really come up lately. And the first has to do with going to CrossFit. And for those of you who didn't know, I do CrossFit. I started up, I should say, about 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago. So I did it for about 8 years. And then I had about a 3 or 4 year break where I just wanted to do biking and do some other things, and then got back into it. And so I'm kind of back in the flow and doing all these things. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I showed up and they said we were doing our deadlift max, right? So the max lift you can do 1 rep of for the deadlift. And to be completely honest, in the past, I haven't done a lot of like all these Olympic lifts, like deadlifts and snatches and all those sorts of things. It's just not something I've honestly ever been a fan of. For some reason, I never liked weight, like heavy weights like that, or a weight over my head, as if I thought, I was going to drop it and hurt myself or hurt my shoulder or something like that, which can't happen. But over the years, I've learned, right? And my mental toughness has grown, and I've learned to actually embrace those and like those and really focus on the form of them. Well, anyway, 2 weeks ago, we go into this deadlift max. And again, I took a couple-year break, right? So I'm thinking to myself, well, Matt, you're not here to break any records. Let's be smart. We're still going to get our max lift, but we're going to do it the right way, right? We're going to go and focused on form and all these things. And the thing I told myself is, how do I go into it with this middle mindset mentality? And I'm going to tell you right now, I was blown away by my results. So I went and looked at this app that tracks the weights that I've done over the years, going back quite a ways. And the max deadlift that I had ever done before, one I had recorded, one I had not recorded, but the last one I looked at was like 275 pounds, okay? Which I know there's lots of people out there who can do way more than 275 pounds, and that's awesome. Some people can't. But again, like as I've grown over the years, I've learned how to embrace that and figure out how to maximize that and get beyond the self-talk, the negative self-talk that's going on in my head. And so I saw that, and then I remembered that a couple years ago, right before I took my break, that I actually did 325. And I just forgotten to record it. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a baseline. I'll probably be somewhere in the middle there because I haven't done this in a while. But I embraced this middle mindset. And so I just started working my way up into 225 and then jumped up to 275. And it was pretty easy. And then I'm like, okay, I'll keep going. And I threw on more and I did 325. And it was like super easy. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. And then I just kept slowly going until the last rep that I did was 375. Now, again, that may be a lot or very little for those of you listeners right now. But here's the deal. For me, I blew out of the water. I mean, think about it. My max rep, the best I ever did was 325. And then after taking a couple-year break, I do 375. And you know what the one difference was? My mindset. What was going on in between my ears? That was the only difference. I'm telling you. I didn't go practice deadlifts for those couple years I had off. Like, no, I didn't do one deadlift. It was everything in between my ears. That's what this middle mindset was. I was in such a really interesting place as I went and did this. And there's kind of 4 things I want to talk to you about today that emphasize like what the middle mindset is and the state that you can be in to get those same results. So you may not be lifting weights. It might be leading people. It might be doing that interview. It might be anything. But it's staying in the middle, not too high, not too low. But as you work through these 4 steps, I think it can be applied to anything in your life. So that's the first place where I just noticed it. And I'll walk through the steps here in a minute. The second place that I've noticed it is I've started to play more golf lately. And my son, especially, he's 16 now, he's just really into golf and wants to go out. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I've got this one training tool called the Orange Whip that you can look up. That's kind of pretty cool little training tool. And because, shockingly, because I'm practicing, I'm actually getting better. Like, funny how that works, right? Actually practice the stuff, you get better at it. Like, you can practice becoming a better leader. That's what the High Performance Leadership Program is about. And guess what? If you do that, you become a better leader. It's amazing. Anyway, all joking aside, the last couple times we've gone out, I've implemented, I should say, this middle mindset where the golf game has been so much more fun, whether I hit a good shot or bad. I've been much more relaxed. I've been more calm. And because of this, my shots have been straighter. I've had better opportunities. In one round, compared to the day before, I shaved off 8 strokes, which is pretty huge in the game of golf. And I attribute it all to this middle mindset. Now, I am not, an amazing golfer by any means. I'm not bad, but everything we're going to talk about today about this middle mindset, I want you to take this away and implement it for yourself. But I've noticed it in golf. I've noticed it with my deadlift. I've noticed it in business. I've noticed it as I launch, different programs or hire people on. that this has served me so, so well. And that's why we're going to spend time talking about it. So let's talk about this middle mindset concept. And there's a couple things that I wrote down that I wanted to really spend some time with you today. And the first thing that I've noticed through my deadlift and through golf and through coaching all of these clients of mine is that I separated myself from the result. Separated myself from the result, meaning that my self-worth is not tied to some sort of result, whether it goes well or whether it goes poorly. And that separation, I think, is such a key first step, right? So when I step up to a deadlift, if all of a sudden I can say, do whatever the weight is, so if I pull this and I get this lift, then I'm better for it. Versus if I don't, I'm worse for it. I'm a worse person. And that's the first thing of what something is going to happen. There's going to be some sort of result from this. But if I start tying it to my self-worth, if I'm better or worse from this, that's where we get ourselves in trouble. And that was something I've noticed over and over and over again of doing that lift of, I may or may not get this. I'm going to try. I'm going to focus on my form. I'm going to do the right things. I know I can do it. I started with that positive self-talk. I know I can do this, but I'm just going to learn from this. And whether I do it or not, I'm still a great person. I'm a great human being. I'm a great father. I'm a great husband. All these things. A weight does not define me, right? How fast I finish a workout does not define me. Whether I make one mistake, that does not define me. I can learn from that. I can grow from that. And that's that first thing. I think sometimes we tie ourselves so closely to a result, right? Does somebody sign a deal? And if they don't, I'm a horrible person. But if they do, then I'm a great person. No, you are a great person. We just have to figure out what we need to learn from this to close the deal over and over and over again and get that next one and get that next one, get that next one. Or to deal with that issue of work around leadership. It's disassociating our self-worth from the result. Now, this sometimes can be easier said than done. I totally get it. Playing baseball, it's a game based on failure. Well, when you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're actually a really good hitter. That means I'm only successful 30% of the time. That's why I had to learn to start with that I'm an amazing individual. And whether I strike out or not doesn't mean I'm better or worse for it. So that's the first thing I noticed with this middle mindset, separating yourself from the result.
I wanted to take a quick break from the podcast to invite you to something very special that we're up to at Matt Phillips Coaching. It's what we call the High Performance Leadership Program. Now, we know that leading people can be challenging. It also can be extremely rewarding. And one thing that I found as you progress in leadership and want to take that next level, get that promotion, continue to move up the ladder, is you have to continually invest in yourself. And you have to set yourselves apart from other people. And you have to continue to not only grow as a leader, but you have to grow your mental toughness, your mindset, because that is the one true differentiator. That's exactly why we built the High Performance Leadership Program, to come alongside you on a monthly basis, to give you the tools, training, and resources, and coaching with me to help you elevate your performance. So I invite you to head over to mattphillipscoaching.com/membership and join us today in the High Performance Leadership Program. Let's make your dreams and your career and your business a reality.
Second thing that I've noticed just personally in these deadlifts and golf is that I adopted this, let's see what happens mindset. Just almost this curiosity. It's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen. Not putting an expectation on whatever we think might happen is going to happen, but just being curious of let's go make it happen. Let's lift this weight. Let's see if we can lift it. Let's hit this shot. Let's see where it goes. And obviously there's a lot of preparation there. There's form, there's practice that we've done, but it's, again, not setting some expectation that I'm telling you right now. I don't know if this is my experience maybe, but if we set expectations, we are typically wrong almost 100% of the time. Right? Because there's some variable that's different than we foresaw and we thought was going to happen. It might be an amazing thing, but it always unfolds a little bit differently or massively different than we thought. So when we put these expectations on it, all of a sudden we're not going to have those perfectly occur. And so we can get ourselves in trouble. But if I'm just curious of like, yeah, I expect a great thing to happen right here, and I hope it's something like this. It's not going to be that perfectly, but I expect something great to happen. And I'm just going to be curious. I'm like, let's go see. Let's go see. I'm really curious to see what is going to result from this. And that was me lifting weights, right? I was like, I wonder if I go up from 325 to 350. I wonder what that would do. What if I went from 350 to 375? This will be interesting. Focus on form, focus on the preparation, focus on the positive self-talk. And I was able to pull it up. Same thing in golf. Like, I'm really curious. Like, my goal is to hit the ball over there, and I want to take the best swing I have possible right now, and let's see what happens. And I had a couple of shots that, oh goodness sake, right? I was like, oh well, that's interesting. I expected it to go there, and it went somewhere completely different. But I was just curious at the result based on the preparation that I went through. So I think that's the second thing of, right, just being curious about what's going to happen and not tying some massive expectation and thinking that we have to have it all figured out before we actually go do the thing. And when I think about leadership, right, when we're trying to, set the vision for our team and make sure the priorities are straight and, make sure we're closing those deals and doing all these things, it's kind of that challenge of like, what unrealistic expectations are we really setting, which happens, in my opinion, 100% of the time. So how do we still have expectations? Like, we want great things to happen. And at the same time, how do we just be curious to see what's going to unfold and work really hard to make that happen? It's such an interesting place to be. Which leads me to my third thing that I noticed is asking a lot of questions, right? It's gathering feedback of what went well and maybe what didn't go so well, but staying in this middle place. It's kind of this neutral place, right? Again, I'm not judging it as good or bad, but I'm just staying neutral with it. I'm staying in the middle. And I remember, doing the deadlift, right? I'd lift that 350 pounds and I'm like, that's really interesting, right? I'm curious. That turned out really well. That's awesome. And then I thought to myself, what did I do right there to where it felt like it was so easy? Was it the form? Was it the way I walked up to the bar? Was it my mental approach? And I was just asking questions, being like, okay, well, I did notice my self-talk was really good. And you know what? I also noticed that I focused strictly on my form. So I said, okay, I'm going to learn from that. And I'm going to go do that next time. But it's just asking questions, gathering feedback. Same thing with the golf shot. You hit a shot good or bad. It's looking at me like, what did I do there that, either I can correct or that I can repeat next time? And it's like, wow, your approach here and the way it was lined up in front of you with your feet and the way you took it back and just were loose or you were tight or whatever. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to learn from that. And I'm going to apply that the next time. That's that neutral mindset. That's that middle place. You just gather the feedback, take it for what it's worth. Again, it's not labeling good or bad. It's just, okay, well, I'm going to learn from that and let's take the next step forward. That's something that I noticed. Maybe you experience that as well. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you about, this is a critical one as well, not worrying about what other people think. Whether I was able to lift whatever weight I was going for or not, I could sit there and worry about like, well, other people are watching and like, what if I get this or what if I don't? What are they going to think of me? Are they going to label me good or bad? And I'm going to internalize that and label myself good or bad, whether I hit a good golf shot or not. Am I worrying about what other people are saying about my swing? Or more importantly, tying it to the type of person that I am. Shouldn't they be able to do that? Shouldn't they be able to hit a ball straight? Shouldn't they be able to lead their team? Shouldn't they be able to have a difficult conversation? It's stopping that worry and just understanding, right? If I separate myself from the result, if I have this curious mindset about how do I optimize my performance, how do I be my best self, how do I position myself to be successful? If I do that third thing and just ask questions and gather feedback of what adjustments potentially I need to make or what I need to continue doing along the way. And if I stay focused on becoming my best self, that's when I can set aside what other people think, because everyone has an opinion. I have an opinion. You have an opinion. Everybody's got their opinions. But our job, I believe, as leaders is to focus on ourselves and be like, how do I maximize the gifts and talents that I've been born with, that I'm developing? How do I be my best self? That's the key to the middle mindset. And it's really interesting for me. I interviewed a man named Jason Terry last week. His nickname is Jet. He had a 19-year NBA career with the Dallas Mavericks, a number of other teams. Won a national championship with the University of Arizona. He won an NBA championship with the Dallas Mavericks. And I had such a fun conversation with him. And we talked a lot about mindset and mental toughness and what it took to thrive for 19 years in NBA. Do you know how rare that is? 19 years. And he had such great stories to tell. One of the things that stuck out to me was his relentless focus on becoming his best self, being competitive with himself. Right? And there was not this judgment with him. It was this constant, like, how do I just get a little better? How do I learn? He studied film extensively. He wanted to understand the strategy of the game. He wanted to know the X's and O's. He wanted to know everything. He wanted to be prepared to the best of his ability so he could help the team win. And when we stay in this place of this middle mindset, right? Not too high, not too low, right in the middle. In all the 4 points that I've talked about today, you can achieve that. I mean, that's what Jet did. He understood what he needed to do and what adjustments he needed to make. Now, it's not to say, that after they won the NBA championship, he's like, I'm going to stay in the middle. No, he was super excited about it. Yes, we can be super excited. And at the same time, Jet was looking at like, how do I get better? Like, how do I leverage what we did this year to repeat it next year? Because this was fun. That's where that mental mindset comes. It's constantly learning and growing and developing and optimizing what talents we have. And that's what I want you to really focus on is when you're going into your day, when you're going to work or something personal, even that workout, is how do you employ these 4 things, right? So first of all, separating yourself from the result. Your self-worth is not tied to the result. Second, having that curious mindset, being like, this is going to be fascinating. Let's see what happens here. And prepare yourself to take on that thing. The third thing, be curious and gather feedback. What worked, what didn't, with no judgment upon yourself, good or bad. And the fourth thing is taking what other people think and setting it to the side for a minute. Instead, focusing on like, how do I be my best self? That's where game changers come from. That's where you're able to lift more than you thought possible. That's where you're able to hit better golf shots if you're a golfer than you thought possible. That's where you're able to take on these challenges at work. And as we're leading teams, to get the most out of these individuals, right? Relentless pursuit on being your best self. I can tell you story after story of the individuals in business, in athletics that have done this and have made them amazing individuals and built amazing teams and companies and all these things, because that's their focus on those 4 things. So I wonder today, what part of your life where you could start thinking about even just one of those 4 elements and starting to practice those and put those into place. And I want you, before you're done with this podcast today, think about what is that one area where I know I can put that into place so that you can have an amazing impact for those around you. Pick out that one thing, go put it into action. I'll be at the golf range, practicing my middle mindset, learning, growing. And I just appreciate you and the time you're taking to grow and develop yourself through this podcast. I cannot tell you how important it is to spend the time just listening to this podcast. So thank you so much for doing that. Now, with that, I'm going to leave you for today. One last thing before I go, please head over to mattphillipscoaching.com/membership. You hear us talk about this a lot, right? But if we're going to be the best leader possible at home and at work, we have to have this continuous development mindset. I mean, that's what we're here to talk about today, this middle mindset concept. And that's why we have the High Performance Leadership Program. And I want to talk to you about it, to implore you, to invite you to join, to become a member and grow yourself, not only with the content we put out in the monthly training, but the group coaching calls that you get to come to continue to elevate your performance. So head over to mattphillipscoaching.com/membership. And I hope to see you inside and get to spend a little more intimate time with you inside the program. So with that, have a fabulous rest of your day, and we will see you on the next podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us today on the Matt Phillips podcast. If you are like us, we know that you are here to do great things. to become the sales leader that makes things happen and drives big time sales results. We know you have that big vision, and we are here to help get you where you want to go. We're here to help you develop that unstoppable, rock solid leadership skill set and help you train to master the one true differentiator, mental toughness. We would love to be part of your journey. So if you are ready, head over to mattphillipscoaching.com and check out the ways that we can help. As always, please share this episode and make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Thank you again. And now, go crush the day.